But hello, it's Friday, September 27th, 2019, and I am Angela Hooper-Menifield of Menifield and Associates with your HR moment. So first, let's just start off and say we made it through another week, right? Another work week, another week of challenges, victories, and things like that. This has been a really good week for me, both personally and professionally. And next week is going to be very exciting and very busy. I'm actually going to be presenting at a state conference next week in Atlantic City, so that's exciting. So I'll have to figure out how to do my videos. Perhaps we'll have an opportunity to do a live video with our audience. We'll try anyway. But as we bring this week to a close, I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about how can we take the documentation that we've been talking about all week and use it. Now, I noticed that my little icon down here, I don't know, can you change it while we're on video? You can. Awesome. It said part 3, we're in part 4. So part 4 of our documentation is how do you use the documentation that you create? What are some ways that it shows up to be really beneficial? And of course, we talked about some things like investigations, performance improvement plans, and things like that. But I think sometimes we lose sight of even the little ways that documentation can be so valuable and handy. So here's an illustration. How many times have you had a conversation, had an issue, and the person you spoke with on the phone was magnificent? They gave you the best help, they were accommodating, they told you they would take care of everything. Then some time passed and you don't get the result that you were looking for, or you're still waiting and you're wondering, is everything okay? And so you call back and you say, hey, I'm just calling back because, XYZ happened. I spoke to your customer service person and I'm looking for, the follow-up. One of the first things they might ask you is, so who did you speak to? Oh my gosh, I didn't write the name down. To me, that is a perfect illustration of places and times where had you kept the documentation, you would be able to deal with it. Recently, and I may have shared this earlier in my Kajabi video when I unboxed my Kajabi Hero box, that I had some customer service questions and follow-up with Kajabi. And so when I sent them an email, now this is about 8 months later, I said in my message, and I spoke to X about this. It was perfect because guess what happened? They then connected me back with that person. That person was able to help me and again, gave me some of the best customer service I've ever had. But the point I'm making is if I didn't have documentation and was not able to say who it was I had spoken with, I may not have gotten the follow through. Excuse me, and I don't know about you, but one of my pet peeves is to have to retell the story. You know what I mean? Like you talk to a person, you go through the 5-minute explanation, this is where we were, this is where we've been, this is where we're trying to go. And then they say, oh, okay, well, let me transfer you to, and then they send you over to someone else and you have to start over. It's frustrating, you get tired, and if you're anything like me, the more and more you tell it, you start to leave bits and pieces out because you're a little frustrated. Now, another place having great documentation is, again, if you're on committees, subcommittees, things like that. How many times have you been in a meeting and you agreed to do some things or you talked about doing some things? And then everybody says, oh, great meeting, high five, rah, rah. And then you leave the meeting. And then you come back in a week or so and you re-huddle and you want to touch bases to see where are we on the progress. Have we done the things that we said we were going to do? And then you get in the room and several of the things that were on the list, nobody did. And it's not even just that nobody did them. Nobody knew who was supposed to do what. Good documentation can help you with that, right? And I don't know about you, but I'm not anti-meeting. I know I hear a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, I hate meetings. But I don't hate meetings. I hate unproductive meetings. If you can host a good meeting, and maybe that'll be a topic for us, but I digress. But if you can have a good meeting, then no, I want to be a part of it. And so part of the reason why people don't like meetings is because they feel like nothing ever is accomplished and there is no closure, no structure. And so one of the ways you can avoid that is by documenting, again, what took place, get the highlights, who's supposed to do what, when will we come back, and then that documentation be used to move it forward. And so this is another place where, again, had we just taken good documentation, use that information to leverage our success, our progress, make changes, recommendations on what we need to do moving forward, we would find that, wow, these meetings are more productive. And guess what? My time isn't wasted. That is a pet peeve of mine, when people waste my time. So I say that to say, these are just some of the little places, everyday things that you can slowly begin to use documentation to your advantage. And saves you time, makes you more productive, and people who work with you probably prefer to work with you more because what they get clarity. They clearly understand the expectations of them, they know when those deadlines are, and they know how to move forward. So again, documentation can be used in a host of ways. And again, we're not even talking about the extreme cases like, legal issues, contracts, agreements, addendums, things like that we discussed off the record, but there's no written communication about. I'm talking about little stuff that can make our days more effective. So these are just some of the reasons, again, why you should start documenting. I pray that some of you have now, captured a notebook, no matter how big or small, and decided that, you know what, I'm going to start writing things down and documenting those things. It's a great thing to do, even appointments. Have you made some appointments and done it off the cuff? Well, I'm the person, and I'm not ashamed to tell you, that will, after the fact that I had a meeting with someone, put it on my calendar. Now, you may be wondering, why would I do that? Because at some point in time, I'm going to want to know that I did that. Let's just say, today is a perfect example. I did some work with a local organization. We're starting a new mastermind on John's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And on my way walking home, I live in the city. Sorry, my phone started ringing. So on my way home, I walked past another organization where a past client is now working, and I told her I would stop by. Well, that stop by turned into about an hour and a half discussion. We're playing the leadership game and doing some other things. Guess what? Now that I'm back home, I will put on my calendar that I've had a meeting with that person and kind of the gist of what we discussed. Because some of it was just catching up, how are things on the new job kind of thing. But we did do a quasi-discovery meeting in order for me to figure out, what it is she needs with her new organization and how I can best serve her with the tools and resources that I have available to me. So I'll put that appointment now on my calendar after the fact, and again, put some notes down about what we talked about. Because again, documentation and documenting things, it's not to make our lives more complicated, it's to make it easier. And who knows, she may ask me, I may ask her, it's like, hey, when was that again? And I'll be able to look at the calendar and know that's when we discussed X and Y as we move forward. So again, documentation. Why do you need it? Because it makes things a record. It makes it more factual. It removes you from having the responsibility of trying to remember who said what, who was supposed to do what, and to be a recorder. We have video right now, but the video is recording me. But if the video wasn't here, how could I really regurgitate the gist of what I said? Well, if someone was taking notes, or if I were taking notes, we'd be able to do that. So again, this is the value of documentation. Don't view it as a negative, view it as a positive. I'll leave you with this. We get to view things in whatever light we choose to. And so the trainer coach in me is always trying to say, how do I present content to make it more palatable, right, to people? Because somebody is still watching this video and rolling their eyes and thinking, why would I want to document? That's just extra work, extra time. So let's talk about a fence. Some of us live in houses, not me, I live in an apartment, but some of us live in houses. And Some of us have fences at our houses, right? Now, we could look at the fence one or two ways, right? We could see this fence as a mechanism to lock everybody up and keep them in the house or keep them in the yard, right? Because the fence keeps us from getting out. Or we could see the fence as a protection. It's protecting us, and it's also keeping things we don't want inside from getting in. It's all about perspective, right? It's the same fence. It's the same thing about documentation. It can be either something that we have to do, we don't want to do, takes up all our time, and is an annoyance. Or it can be something that makes us more effective, more efficient, saves us time, gives us clarity, and is a record, and it helps us move forward. Helps us do things we want to do easier and better, and it also helps us where we need to make corrections. You get to decide how you view it. Me, love documentation. You get to decide. But anyway, this ends our Friday, September 27th video and part 4 of our documentation series, where we have now discussed methods of using this documentation that benefit us and those we work with. My name is Angela Hooper-Menifield of Menifield and Associates. This is your HR moment. I hope you have an awesome weekend, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Take care. Bye.